Down in the South Pacific Ocean, a submarine is racing madly for the United States. Just 4 hours ago, the Gregory party escaped from the island of Euclidia in a stolen Euclidean submarine. Joan Gregory, 15-year-old girl who has spent nearly all her life on the strange artificial island, is operating the submarine, while Jerry Hall, Mrs. Gregory, and Captain Bradford watch with interest and ply Joan with questions. The speedy undersea craft is making over 40 knots and is 8 fathoms below the surface of the water.
Are you sure we've come that far, Joan?
It is obvious that my instruments could not be wrong. We have progressed slightly more than 160 miles during the last 4 hours.
Think of that, Pat. 4 hours, 160 miles, and under 8 fathoms of water.
I am thinking of it, Tex, but there's so much to think of that I'm not able to grasp it all.
Golly, I'm not doing any better, Mrs. Gregory. But it's mighty swell to know we've left that crazy island behind us, and that nothing can stop us now.
Oh, how I hope that's true.
Well, of course it is, Patricia. You've been worried so long and seen your plans so badly treated that you're afraid to believe in good luck when it does come along.
Indications point toward a fair possibility of achievement of our goal. We have many miles to traverse, however, and Euclidia is not to be forgotten.
Well, I'm going to forget it just as soon as I can.
Joan, you're not sure that we're safely away from that island, are you?
No one who appreciates the ability of G47 is ever sure of anything in which he might take an interest.
Yes, and he might take plenty of interest in our escape.
I'll say he will.
It will avail us nothing to anticipate trouble. We must now eat something.
Huh? Eat?
By Jove, Joan, we forgot to provision the boat.
We had no time, even if we had remembered it.
The submarine is fully provisioned.
Oh, with what?
Food.
You sure keep it hid.
Yes, I can't see any space in here large enough to contain any amount of food.
And we've a long way to go to California.
The Euclideans are as exacting regarding food as they are in their provision for sufficient fuel. We are amply provisioned for a cruise of this length and more.
Well, come on, break out the grub.
What?
Jerry means let's eat.
It would seem indicated as the passage of time since our last meal is slightly more than the customary period allowed to elapse.
Maybe that's how you find out when it's time to eat, but I know when I'm hungry.
Yes, and I'm a little inclined to figure the way Jerry does. My stomach is better than the clock.
The thought of food had not occurred to you until I noted the fact that it was time to eat.
Oh, that's what you think. I was plenty hungry long ago, but I didn't see any sense in asking for something we didn't have.
That was my feeling, Jerry. I had thought of food some time ago, but I knew it wouldn't do any good to suggest it, as we'd only feel worse about not having any.
It is amazing to learn how foolish people can be in your world.
Foolish because we get hungry?
Certainly not. Foolish because you refuse to accept the perfection of Euclidean preparations. It would be a serious offense if a Euclidean were to start on a trip without all necessary equipment and provisions.
Well, that's okay, too. But we stole this boat, and you don't always find a boat ready to steal all full of food.
Well, supposing we'd met that Joan showed us up and asked for some of the food, huh?
Yes, I can marvel at having the food just as comfortably while I'm eating it.
Very well. Jerry.
Aye, Skipper?
I am not a skipper, Jerry.
Okay. What do you want?
Will you open the metal slide in the steel section near your left arm?
Oh, this little thing here?
Yes, that is
Sure.
it. You will observe a number of quartz vials, each labeled and numbered.
Yeah, there's a lot of little bottles here. They're all marked D1 and Z4 and all such things.
We will not require more than the one you have in your hand. That is marked Z4, is it not?
Yeah, but what's in it?
Our noonday meal.
Huh?
Joan, dear, are you looking at what Jerry has in his hand?
I glanced at it. The label will be correct.
But we're looking for something to eat.
That vial contains sufficient for our needs at this time.
Now, look, Joan. This bottle isn't any bigger than your thumb. Well, how can we eat out of that?
If you will remove the cap, please.
Okay, off comes the cap.
Now, Mother, if you and the captain will extend your hands, Jerry will drop one of the tablets in each hand.
Why, yes, but, well, good heavens, that little capsule isn't much larger than the end of a lead pencil.
You will find it sufficient for a satisfying meal.
A meal? This little pill is a meal?
You are very skeptical, Captain Bradford. But let me advise you to eat the pellet at once. Much of the food value will be lost in the air if you continue to hold it in the palm of your hand.
Oh, golly whiskers. Do you chew this up or just swallow it?
If you wish to savor the exquisite taste, it is permissible to masticate and slowly swallow the food content.
Slowly swallow? How can you swallow a thing like that slowly?
Jerry, taste your tablet. It is delicious, and give Joan hers.
Oh, sure. Sorry, Joan. Here's your porterhouse steak.
Why, George, Pat, you're right. That tastes mighty good. Seems to taste like a good, healthy mouthful, too.
Well, if it's all right with you two, I guess I can take a chance on it, too. But I can't see how... Oh! Oh, golly whiskers. Now I've done it. I swallowed my dinner without even getting a chance to taste it.
Oh, Jerry.
You will receive the food value as quickly as if you had tasted it. Many of the Euclideans prefer to swallow the pellets quickly, saving considerable time.
Yeah, I guess it's too long for lunch if you take time to chew up a pill. What a bunch of people old G47 and his playmates are.
Well, I must admit that is one of the most satisfying meals I've ever eaten. Oh, I feel so comfortably drowsy, just as if I'd eaten a little too much.
It is not too much. Those tablets are scientifically correct in their food content.
Well, I feel all right. No, maybe that was all the lunch I ought to have. But it's a funny way to get it.
I'll tell you a funny one than that. I'll bet no one else has noticed it.
What's that, Tex?
Well, I'm not thirsty. None of you have asked for a drink of water.
Why, you're right. It's been hours since we had any water, and I never felt the need of it.
The need for water is partly provided for in the tablets, but in such concentrated form, it is impossible to secrete sufficient normal moisture to serve for a longer time. I had given it no thought and have no water prepared, but in a few moments you will be supplied.
Prepared? Water? How?
Now, Joan, don't tell me you've got some concentrated water in a fountain pen.
Naturally not. You should know, Captain Bradford, that when water is condensed sufficiently to compress it for such use as this, it is no longer water. Even the Euclideans have failed to compress water appreciably and then return it to its natural state.
Well, it's almost a relief to hear that you admit that those scientists have failed at something. Their continued perfection with everything they attempt is bewildering and terrifying.
Where do you turn on the hydrant?
Turn on the hydrant.
Sure, open the faucet, start the pump, make the fountain bubble. Oh, when do we get a drink?
If you will allow me a few seconds to refuel, I will show you.
Go right ahead, Joan.
And all this is real? A submarine that takes but a few seconds to refuel?
You know, maybe we can do something about that. Seems like a waste of time to me.
You think I do it too slowly?
Now, don't let Jerry kid you, Joan. Go to it. And if you don't mind, I'd like to watch you closely. Have you explain the refueling process as you go along. It's always happened too fast for me.
It is very difficult to demonstrate for that reason. However, there is enough fuel in the first chamber to allow me a few seconds for explanation in advance of the actual operation.
May we all watch, dear?
Certainly, Mother, although there is little to see. As you will note, that heavy cylinder of transparent steel contains several hundred small cubes of a grayish mineral substance. That substance is a highly condensed, compressed, and dehydrated gas. When the gas cubes are mixed with ordinary salt water, spontaneous combustion expands the whole at a terrific rate, and this force is allowed to escape through two jets in the stern.
So far, so good. But how do you get those cubes of dry gas down into that lower combustion chamber?
Watch closely now. I move this lever, so, and that action closes a valve in the upper end of the chamber. Now I move this lever and release one of the cubes, allowing it to drop through the valve and then quickly close the valve, restricting the chemical action to the lower chamber. Follow this closely now.
I hope you saw what you were looking for, Tex. It was much too rapid for me.
Me too.
Oh, it's remarkable, Jerry. We'll certainly have wonderful stories to tell when we get back home.
Yes, unless we can prove them, nobody's going to believe us.
Well, we'll have a submarine to show them, and when we get some help and some of your foreigners to use in capturing the Magic Island, we can prove the whole thing then.
You are very optimistic, Jerry, but that portion of our adventures is far from realization.
Oh, Joan, dear, we'll get out of this all right. I feel it.
Sure we will. Old G47 can't touch us now.
Yeah, stop worrying about those Euclideans, Joan, and go on with our education. Now, where's this drink of water coming from?
I am indeed sorry that the water was forgotten. We will now extract enough for our immediate uses.
Extract it? Extract water?
Precisely.
Okay, precisely. Tell us how you get water out of a steel submarine.
I get water out of the ocean.
The ocean?
You would find it simple to extract the salt from seawater and render it satisfactory for human consumption if you were in your laboratory, would you not?
Of course, with proper apparatus. Retorts, stills, burners, and bell jars, but I'm lost here.
Lost? But we are on our course.
Oh, Tex, man. You left him hopelessly behind in your discussion, Joan, dear.
Well, why don't you go ahead and show us, Joan, like you did about the compressed gas tablets for fuel?
Well, I think that is best. We can always get a good general impression by watching you at work.
In securing palatable water, we make use of the same principle you employ in your laboratory, that of distillation. However...
What is it, Joan?
Sounds like a carrier wave coming out of a radio.
Turn it in quick, Joan. It might be Johnson trying to reach us.
Not on that wavelength. There is no transmitter in your world with a frequency of that calibration.
Well, it surely sounds like a radio.
Just now, bet it is.
You are indeed hearing the tuning signal of a transmission apparatus, but your friend Johnson will never be heard there.
Well, what is it?
The location beam from Euclidia.
The Magic Island? Oh, they've located us.
Steady, Pat. Now, what is it exactly, Joan?
That constant signal will be received by every Euclidean receiving set all over the world. Every spy Euclidia has is getting it. And all will know that something is missing from Euclidia.
And I suppose the search is on right now.
You may be sure that the ocean and air are alive with Euclidean pursuit units at this moment, Captain.
Oh, gee. Let's tune in on the island station and see what old G47 is broadcasting about it.
No. Our only hope of escaping location is to refuse to open our receiver to voice transmission. That would break the beam, and the instruments on Euclidia would register it at once, giving them our exact distance from the island.
You mean we can't even receive a message without being located?
Exactly.
But what if Johnson or some other rescue agency attempts to communicate with us?
We will not receive their messages. Our only hope now is to remain lost in the depths of the sea. Lost to Euclidia and lost to the world.
For the second time, the Gregory party has escaped from the Magic Island. And as they race along under the sea in a Euclidean submarine, putting 40 more miles between themselves with every hour, it looks as if all should be well. But nothing connected with the Magic Island is ever just what it seems to be. Captain Bradford, Mrs. Gregory, and Jerry Hall have been enjoying themselves as Joan explains the working of the stolen submarine. But the fun is over when their radio picks up a warning signal from Euclidia. Joan is explaining that it will be impossible for them to intercept any messages without giving away their own position.
But we've just got to sit still and listen to that thing howl. We can't even get any messages out.
We will be able to send no communications while the Euclidean transmission beam is in operation, Jerry.
I can't understand it, Joan. You say that Euclidean radio is working on a wavelength far shorter than anything in our world.
Yes, Mother.
Well, then why can't we use the radio in this submarine? Use it on the common broadcast band or commercial shortwave and be perfectly safe.
We would interrupt that signal we are now hearing.
I don't see how.
I believe I do, Jerry. As long as that signal continues without interruption, G47 has no way of finding out that we are even receiving it here. But if we cut it off to move from that wavelength, the action will be registered on the recording graphs at the island. Locating us then would be a mighty simple matter.
And we don't even dare to stop that noise.
It would be very unwise.
Well, it sure gets on my nerves.
Well, don't let it bother you too much. It's better to have a few shivers running up and down your back than it would be for G47 to locate us.
Oh, I'll say it is.
You're right, Tex. Why, it stopped.
Yeah. And I can get along swell without it.
I guess none of us will miss it much.
If you wish to act quickly, you may try to reach Johnson now.
We can use the radio to send him a message?
I would not attempt that as yet. However, you know the wavelength of the boat Johnson is now on, and you know he will be transmitting almost a constant signal to you. I would suggest opening our set to that wavelength for reception, but we will have only 90 seconds.
90 seconds? For what?
The Euclidean beam will be off for 90 seconds.
Well, then hurry. Put that set on 6 meters.
Very well, Captain. I will observe the time carefully and return the radio to normal in time to receive the Euclidean beam.
We must be very careful not to run over into it.
I've got the receiver on 6 meters.
That's where we last heard from Johnson.
But Tex, he was on a boat then, running to Los Angeles. Don't you think he should be home by this time?
I wonder about that.
Well, he'd be trying to reach us just the same, wouldn't he?
Well, possibly not, Jerry. If Johnson is in Los Angeles, he's very busy trying to arrange a rescue party.
Yes, and being laughed at every time he tells his story.
Yeah, I guess that's right. Nobody would believe Johnson's story about what happened to us.
The fact that you have not returned should offer ample proof that all is not well with you. And if Johnson is clever, he will succeed in making your friends understand your position.
Well, he'll organize the rescue all right, Joan, but that takes time.
Well, we don't seem to be doing ourselves any good on the radio.
Oh, don't be too impatient, Jerry. We may have to listen for hours to get any word from Johnson.
You have a powerful private transmitter at your home, have you not, Mother?
Why, yes, Joan.
Would it not be wise to... Wait, let me have the radio controls, Jerry. It is time for the Euclidean beam. I will make the change quickly.
Glad you remembered that, Joan. Wouldn't be so good to run over into their
Silence.
Boy, you sure didn't give yourself any time to spare. You just barely got the set changed over when that signal came in.
I was quite conscious of the passing of time.
signal. You've got more confidence in your watch than I'd have in mine.
And what if that Euclidean beam had started a little early? What if they hadn't waited their full 90 seconds?
Well, we'd just be on our way back to the island and spend more time worrying with the things they give prisoners to do on Euclidia.
Everything is constant on Euclidia. When a Euclidean is told that the location beams are transmitted constantly, With 90-second intervals and 60 seconds of activity, you may be sure that you will be allowed exactly 90 seconds of silence between transmissions.
Well, we'll take your word for it, Joan. You certainly know a whole lot more about G47 and his scientists than we do. But I'd suggest that you be ready to use the whole 90 seconds listening for Johnson when that beam stops.
Yes, Joan, dear. We must be ready to switch to our own wavelength at once.
I had anticipated that.
You'll want to put the set on 1 1/2 meters.
The radio will be set to 1 1/2 meters the instant Euclidea's beam is silent.
Not much chance of hearing anything from Johnson now, though. He won't be sending night and day.
Well, I'm inclined to believe that he may be, Tex. He can easily get any number of amateurs to work in shifts for him.
Well, hey, there goes the beam.
Change the wavelength, Joan.
I have changed it.
You sure work fast.
When time is computed in seconds, it is well not to waste it.
Well, let's be quiet a minute and see if we can hear anything.
Not a sound.
It is possible that your transmitter in Los Angeles is very weak and might not reach us clearly underwater. I will soundproof the submarine.
Soundproof the submarine?
What do you mean, Joan?
I will close the visibility slides. The outer shell is not soundproof, and we may safely run by instruments alone.
And we'll just tear along underwater without being able to see where we're going?
We will remain on our course. Visibility is of no value to us at the moment.
Why, that's wonderful, Joan. This is practically soundproof.
The silence would be perfect, except for the fact that I have one vent open for securing fresh water.
Oh, yeah, how about that water you promised us?
Now, don't worry about that now, Jerry. Let's hope we may hear something from J12C.
Yes, J12C is the call of our home station, Joan. And Johnson also used it when he brought the rescue boat to the Magic Island.
I understand that. We heard all of your messages.
Yeah, I know. Old G47 said he listened to us all the way from Wilmington to Euclidia.
Our arrival wasn't much of a surprise to you, was it, Joan?
No, Mother. Though I had no thought as to what any of you would be like,
Joan, did you have the set changed over in time?
With at least 5 seconds margin, Captain Redford.
5 seconds?
Oh, sure. 5 seconds is a long time to Joan. Wait till I get home, and she has to wait half an hour for a bus on some street corner. She'll find out that seconds don't mean so much.
A second is important.
You're right, of course, Joan. But what Jerry means is that in our world, we treat seconds pretty carelessly.
I'm beginning to learn something of their value now, however. Those 90-second pauses in the Euclidean beam. 90 seconds in which we might hear something from Johnson. They seem awfully short.
Well, I'll say they do. And I'm getting blamed tired of that carrier wave squealing at us all the time.
Now, take it easy, Jerry. As long as we hear that thing every minute and a half, we know the Euclideans have any idea where we are.
You are wise, Captain Tex. Any interruption of that beam might well be fatal to our plans.
Well, I know how serious it is, but the next time you get one of those 90-second pauses, how about making us a drink of water?
The water is being prepared now, Jerry.
Being prepared? How?
Quiet. The beam is gone.
And Johnson's taking a little nap.
Are you trying to pick up a signal on 1 1/2 meters, Joan?
Yes, Mother.
Well, why not try 6 meters again? If that was a very slow boat Johnson was on, he might still be en route to California.
Good idea, Mrs. Gregory.
Yeah, plenty good. We might try alternating between the two bands.
That will not be necessary. I will set the automatic wave selector on those 2 bands. A signal will register on either.
Is there anything that Euclidean radio won't do?
Apparently not. Are the 2 bands open now, Joan?
They are.
Yeah, and not a signal from either of them.
Don't be impatient, Jerry. It may take hours to get a signal from Johnson. He might be just landing from that boat. It would take him some time to get to the house and start the other set.
Oh, I think not, Tex. Johnson would surely have radioed my home and given orders for them to try to reach us.
Well, he might not, Mrs. Gregory. You know, maybe he doesn't want to advertise his business too much.
I think maybe Jerry's right, Pat. Johnson can't say very much over the air without getting the press and commercial radio stirred up. Then he'll have them in his way. Well, we may have to appeal to the government in this before we get through. Johnson knows we want to play a lone hand as long as we can.
I think you will find that your Mr. Johnson is safely in Los Angeles. You must have patience.
I know you think we're very excitable and foolish, Joan, but you're far more accustomed to these happenings than we are.
Hey, there it is again. Another 90 seconds wasted. How about a drink, Joan? Those food tablets we had sure made me thirsty.
That is purely your imagination, Jerry. Those tablets contain enough moisture to sustain you for some hours. However, we will now have some fresh water. You will find drinking vessels in that small sliding receptacle behind you, Mother.
I can reach it easier than you can, Pat. Here they are.
Jerry, you will find a small sealed tube directly above the duplicate control on your side.
Right here?
Correct. Will you turn the cap on that tube and fill the cups?
Oh, sure. Hey, this thing acts like a soda fountain.
What is a soda fountain?
Well, you'll find out when we get back home. Here, Mrs. Gregory.
Oh, thank you, Jerry.
And here's one for you, Joan.
Thank you, Jerry.
Joan, the radio.
Yes, Mother. I have opened the receiving channels.
Here's a drink for you, Tex.
Thanks, Jerry.
No, well, I'll get one for myself.
J12C to J24Y. J12C to J24Y. J12C to Captain Bradford.
It's Johnson.
J12C
Quiet,
to
Jerry,
Gregory
now.
boat. J12C calling Gregory boat. Wilmington to Gregory boat.
Wilmington?
No signal from you for hours. Will continue trying to reach you. Making preparations expected of me. Will take 72 hours to complete plans. J12C to J24Y. J12C calling J24Y. Will repeat every 10 minutes. That is all. Johnson.
He's home.
Oh, Tex. Johnson is home. He's home.
And he's working on our plan.
Only 72 hours to finish it, he said.
What did he mean by that?
Tex's formula. Wasn't that it, Tex?
Yes. Johnson knows our only hope to capture Euclidia is to compound my formula and use that as a weapon.
Are you quite sure that Johnson can compound your universal solvent?
Positive. He has the true formula.
Joan. Oh, it's lucky you thought to change that back.
I was so excited I forgot.
It is not wise to put excitement before duty.
Good idea, Joan, if we could always remember it. Well, let's have a drink of the water that was made from salt water on a Euclidean submarine.
You were going to explain how you made it, Joan.
I will do so now, Mother. There is a small channel in the outer shell of the submarine through which a fine stream of salt water rushes at such speed as to reach the boiling point. It is a simple matter to utilize this almost automatic distillation process and draw off a stream of pure, fresh water.
Think of that, Pat. We're racing through the ocean fast enough to make water boil.
Well, it may be my imagination, as Joan said it was with Jerry, or my throat may be dry from excitement, but I certainly need this drink.
So do I. Here goes.
Thanks to Joan and the Euclideans, we can drink fresh water under 8 fathoms of salt water. Well, here's to our safe arrival in Los Angeles.
Hey, my cup's empty.
You emptied it in the excitement of hearing Johnson call.
Well, golly whiskers. All that trouble to get a drink, and I have to spill it.